Let's start fresh, okay? I'm gonna delete that live anyways. Is it the title? Hold on. What is up with this browser right now? What in the actual fuck is that? That's it. What is this? A fucking dust bunny. That's what I'm talking about. Google always come in clutch. Alright.
Others get suspiciously muscular. Some drank gallons of melted ice cream to gain weight quickly, whereas others were forced to take pills by producers before they were 18 years old. This is not standard acting protocol. These are actors who risked serious injury or death all for the sake of the role, and in some cases, the damage lasted the rest of their lives. Today we are looking at the some actors get dangerously skinny, others get suspiciously muscular, some
who risk serious injury or death all for the sake of a role, and in some cases, the damage lasted the rest of their
18 years old. This is not standard
lives. Today,
protocol.
we're looking at
Actors who risk
some actors
injury
get dangerously skinny, others get suspiciously muscular. Some drank gallons of melted ice cream to gain weight quickly, whereas others were forced to take pills by producers before they were 18 years old. This is not standard acting protocol. These are actors who risked serious injury or death all for the sake of a role, and in some cases, the damage lasted the rest of their lives. Today we are looking at the dark side of Hollywood body transformations, starting with Tom Hanks. He's lucky he did not pass away while filming Castaway. In the film,
No
Hanks
pun
plays the
intended.
role of Chuck
Oh
Nolan,
my
a
God.
FedEx executive whose plane crashes into the Pacific Ocean, leaving him stranded on an island for 4 years. At the time, Hanks' natural body weight was around 185 pounds, but his physical stature in real life would not accurately match the character he was portraying. So for the early scenes before the crash, where Chuck is still living a normal, comfortable life, Tom intentionally packed on nearly 50 pounds to reflect a man who eats all your favorite calorie-dense comfort foods like burgers, fries, and milkshakes. Gaining the weight was essential to make the body transformation even more dramatic, going from slightly overweight to dangerously underweight. After filming the first half of the movie, production shut down for an entire year so Hanks could lose the weight and come back looking like someone who'd been surviving off coconuts and fish. And this is where things got brutal. He went on an extreme diet, eating mostly vegetables, fish, and drinking water. Ain't nothing wrong with that though. No sugar, no refined carbs, no red meat, basically just enough food to keep him standing. To burn even more calories, he added daily cardio, running and swimming every day. By the time filming resumed, he looked like a completely different person. On top of the dangerous weight loss, Hanks got a small cut on his knee that seemed harmless at first until it got infected and turned into a serious problem. His body didn't have enough nutrients to fight it off. He said, "I got an infection from a cut and it was eating its way through my leg. I didn't know it, I just thought I had a sore." He ended up in the hospital for 3 days and the film production was shut down for almost 3 weeks. But it gets worse. Years later, Tom revealed he had developed type 2 diabetes and his doctors told him it was partially because of how often he had pushed his body to extreme lengths for roles, with Castaway being one of the worst. Even though the film earned him an Oscar nomination and is considered one of his best performances, it also may have left him with permanent health issues. And while Tom Hanks transformed while chasing an Oscar, 50 Cent risked his life for a film that nobody saw. No awards, no
I thought that
acclaim,
was
just a brutal weight
AI
cut for a
generated.
role that did not give him
I'm
the
shocked that
credibility
was
he was
actually
hoping
him.
for. But real quick, have you ever Googled your name and seen yourself on one of those
Insane.
strange sites that has way too much information about you? Feels pretty weird. If you ever wondered how scammers get your phone number or why your inbox is flooded with spam, here's why. There are data broker companies that sell your data without your consent and make billions doing it. They're legally required to remove your info if you ask, but they make the process difficult and confusing on purpose. That's where today's sponsor, Aura, comes in. They take care of the hard part and automatically remove your info from these sites. I use Aura to keep myself and my loved ones safe from data brokers and other sketchy online threats. You may already have a digital security tool, but Aura is so much more. Aura will alert you if your personal info is found on the dark web, give you real-time fraud alerts with 24/7 monitoring, gives you less fraud, and will have never been vulnerable, and you shouldn't either. In 2011, 50 Cent released a film called All Things Fall Apart. He wrote it, financed it, starred in it, and most people have never heard of it. But during filming, he went through one of the most extreme physical
seen it.
transformations any actor has ever attempted. He played Dion Barnes, a top college football player who gets diagnosed with cancer. The character starts the movie healthy and muscular, then rapidly declines into a frail, sickly version of himself. And 50 decided to show that transformation for real. It wasn't just a creative decision, it was personal. Growing up, one of 50's closest friends died from cancer. He said that memory stuck with him, and if he was going to play someone going through that, he felt he had to get it right.
I had a friend of mine that died of cancer growing up. So it was exciting. And when I was making the physical transformation, I concentrated on how he actually looked to me.
His routine sounds simple, but it nearly killed him. Every day he ran on a treadmill for a total of 3 hours. When the fatigue set in, he'd slow to a walk, but he never stopped completely. Plus, he was doing this while barely eating anything of substance. Just a liquid-only diet. No processed food, barely any calories, just protein shakes, coconut water, and unsweetened juice. With so few calories, his body burned through all the fat and most of his muscle, and the side effects were obvious. He looked unrecognizable. His cheeks were sunken in, his frame looked like skin and bones, and his eyes looked visibly exhausted. He later admitted he was constantly lightheaded and had to mentally force himself not to eat. I was starving. I would have to restrain myself. I had to discipline myself not to actually eat. When the transformation was complete, he had lost 54 pounds in just 9 weeks, dropping from 214 to 160, which may not sound extreme to some, but when you're naturally a big guy like 50 Cent, that kind of weight loss can be seriously dangerous. And although 50 took the role as seriously as anyone could, the film didn't do nearly as well as he hoped. It had a small budget and barely got distributed. After bouncing around a few film festivals, it eventually landed on BET a year later, but it received no awards and barely got any attention. And the craziest part about this was that nobody asked him to do it. The director didn't tell him to drop the weight, it wasn't in the script nor in the contract. 50 just wanted to prove to everyone that he could be a serious actor and dedicate the film to his late friend. It did not earn him the Hollywood credibility he was chasing, but it still stands as one of the most extreme body transformations any actor has ever done. People have used photos of this role to mock 50 or troll him because, out of context, it could look funny, but it's arguably one of the most impressive things he has done in his entire career. And while 50 Cent pushed himself by choice, Judy Garland was forced. Her breakout role demanded intense weight loss, grueling hours, and pills just to function. And what producers did to her was far darker than anyone could have imagined. Judy Garland was just 16 years old when she played Dorothy in the classic 1939 film The Wizard of Oz. It became the most iconic role of her career, but behind the scenes, it was nothing like the wholesome movie people remember. MGM forced her to do things that would never be acceptable today. From the moment she was cast, the studio told her she did not look the part. Even though she was still a teenager, executives said she looked too mature and too heavy to play a young girl. So they put her on a brutal, restrictive diet that consisted of black coffee, chicken soup, lettuce, and cigarettes. No real meals and barely any calories. And that wasn't even the worst part. MGM gave the 16-year-old drugs to keep her working as many hours as possible. To keep her weight down and her energy up, they gave her what they called pep-up pills, which were just amphetamines. And since the pills kept her wired, they had to knock her out at night with barbiturates. She said, they'd give us pep-up pills to keep us on our feet long after we were exhausted. Then they'd take us to the studio hospital and knock us out with sleeping pills. On top of the pills and starvation, MGM modified her physical appearance. She wore a tight corset to flatten her chest, rubber discs in her nose to narrow its shape, and dental caps to fix her smile. The iconic Dorothy look was manufactured down to the smallest detail. Studio head Louis B. Mayer, one of the most powerful men in Hollywood at the time, would walk up behind her and place his hands on her chest to fix her posture. Judy later said she felt completely powerless. She couldn't speak out or push back because she knew her entire career would be over. And keep in mind, she was only 16 years old at the time. The Wizard of Oz became a massive hit that will be remembered for generations, and Judy's performance turned her into a star, but it came at a cost.
The crazy thing about that is that I didn't even watch this movie more than I watched Oz, I think. Was it Wiz? I don't know. The one that Michael Jackson played in. I watched that more than I watched this. Like, so that's messed up that she had to go through all that for a movie. That's not. Oh my God, that's crazy.
The same pills that kept her working as a teenager became a lifelong addiction. Judy Garland tragically died of a barbiturate overdose at just 47 years old. If she never did The Wizard of Oz, she might have never become a Hollywood star. Then again, she probably would not have died so young. We've seen actors rapidly lose weight by basically eating nothing but air, and then there's Rob McElhenney, who ate a ton of ice cream to make himself look like a slob. Again, Nobody asked Rob to do this. Its inspiration came from watching the legendary sitcom Friends. As the seasons evolved, the entire cast seemed to level up, appearing better looking due to larger paychecks to consume healthier foods, afford dietitians, and the pressure to maintain Hollywood beauty standards. Rob thought it would be hilarious to have the opposite transformation as his show, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, got more successful.
And I thought, I'd never seen a show in which the characters or the actors specifically tried to look worse as the show progressed. And I thought that if there was ever going to be a show in which that would make sense, then this would be it. So I embraced it. And I decided to look as terrible as possible. And gaining 50 pounds was a huge part of that.
Rob discovered the secret to gaining weight: drink as many calories as possible.
I would have my assistant in the morning go out and buy a gallon of ice cream, and he would put it out on the counter, and I wouldn't eat it until 4 o'clock in the afternoon because it would melt, and I would drink it.
You would drink melted ice cream?
Yeah, because you can drink that many calories a day, you can't eat that many calories. At least I can't.
He started having chest pains, and his doctor begged him to stop attempting to gain weight. However, it paid off, because Fat Mac produced some of the funniest moments in It's Always Sunny history.
What is your confession?
I'm fat. Oh, what's up, bitch? I did it! I'm 200 pounds. I'm as big as my avatar. I'm healthier than you, bro.
Well, I wouldn't exactly say you're healthy. You have type 2 adult onset diabetes.
I mean, they're delicious. They're full of carbs, which is great for a pump, and they're cheaper.
The best part about Fat Mac was the redemption arc, as he was able to use this as an opportunity to get ripped beyond belief and shock the whole crew.
Okay, everybody, are you ready?
What?
Bam. All right, what's up?
What's going on?
Oh my
well,
God.
I got into really good shape.
I don't really know what's going on here. You look like a baby.
Yeah,
Like a
so just
toddler.
we're not gonna. Why did I do it? Nobody knows.
Well, we don't know. Okay.
Okay, so
I have a
sure not.
great plan. I think that's best. But,
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Congrats, Mac. It looks really good.
Good job.
Can we figure out?
Crazy thing is that Rob trained for months to get ripped just for a 2-minute joke. Now that's dedication. In a weirder twist, when Chrissy Metz was cast as
It's
Kate
crazy.
in This Is Us, producers actually wanted her to stay heavier to reflect the character's ongoing struggles with weight. Now, it's no secret that
Wow.
Chrissy was already plus-sized in real life, but it shows what Hollywood producers might demand to bring their vision to the big screen.
They were like, we have to fit you for a fat suit. I was like, what? And I remember getting measured at the costume house, and they're like, it's going to be 109 inches. Wow. I'm like, oh, okay. They called it the couch. Like, that's what we ended up calling it on the shoot was, oh, here's Chrissy's couch, because it's basically couch cushions. There's a story that I literally got stuck in my trailer. We had a separate dressing tent because I couldn't go in and out of my trailer. So we had it on the stage or on location, wherever we were. And one day I forgot my phone, or I forgot something that was important. I ran back and I got stuck in the trailer. And I thought, who's going to find me?
And this kind of begs the question if actors actually need to change their bodies. With CGI and a little bit of movie magic, anything is possible. And some actors straight up refuse to make a drastic change, like Robert Pattinson, who took a different path when preparing for The Batman. Robert deliberately avoided the intense bulking routines typical of superhero portrayals. In a 2020 interview with GQ, he said, "I think if you're working out all the time, you're a part of the problem. You set a precedent. No one was even doing this in the 70s. Even James Dean, he wasn't exactly ripped." This stance was clearly the opposite to previous Batman actors. But the thing is, Pattinson still had a great physique. He did some training, including bodyweight exercises, long-distance runs, and military-style sandbag workouts. By no means was he scrawny or out of shape. A lot of the feelings that Robert did not do enough come from the fact that Hollywood body standards have changed significantly. Because Tobey Maguire's body transformation for Spider-Man back in the day was being treated like he transformed into a world-class athlete.
What'd you do? You do special workout? Because when you finally turn into Spider-Man, you're muscular as hell. Well, how did that work? How do you get that size?
I worked out for 5 months, 6 days a week, up to 4 hours a day.
And do you eat more food when you do that?
Had a nutritionist, and I was eating 4 to 6 meals a day, lots of protein.
Back in 2002, Tobey Maguire built an impressive physique while preparing for his role as Spider-Man. But if you looked at him today with the exact same build, some people would say it doesn't even compare to other actors' dedication, because now actors are expected to look like bodybuilders when playing a superhero. And look, I'm not making any accusations out here, but there are tons of credible resources on the internet that suggest that some of your favorite actors are out here doing a little jabby jab to get that Terminator look they so desperately want. So when Robert Pattinson showed up in The Batman with a body that looked, well, naturally attainable, people wanted to criticize him. As a bodybuilder and steroid user, I find it pretty criminal how widespread the usage and denial of usage of PEDs is in Hollywood. It puts in a lot of effed up body image issues, and then they go on and do news stories about X, Y, or Z workout or diet or trendy fitness thing that helped them achieve their goals. Meanwhile, they'd be looking very different without the large amounts of PEDs they're using. Actors don't necessarily need to be jacked to play the role, because Batman is the world's greatest detective, and that alone is enough to tell his stories. Although if you put Robert Pattinson's body next to Tobey's from 2002, it's not that different, but one was called jacked while the other was criticized. It just goes to show what used to be impressive is now considered the bare minimum, and what used to be the bare minimum doesn't even make it past the audition. And while some question Pattinson's dedication, Christian Bale went so far for his role
Oh
that it
my
nearly
God.
killed him. When people talk about actors transforming their bodies to the extreme for a role, Christian Bale in The Machinist always comes up. In the 2004 film, Bale plays Trevor Resnick, a factory worker so plagued by guilt and paranoia that he hadn't slept in a year. Obviously, a guy like that would not look too healthy, so instead of relying on CGI or
I still
special
need to see that
effects,
movie. I
Bale
didn't see that
decided
movie
he'd
yet.
actually become that guy in real life. He dropped down to an insanely low 120 pounds, which is scary considering he's 6 foot tall. That's the kind of weight that would put most people in a hospital bed, not on a movie set. His diet wasn't just restrictive, it was borderline starvation. For months, he survived exactly on 1 can of tuna and 1 apple per day. No processed sugar, no real fat, basically zero nutrients. To keep hunger at bay, Bale smoked cigarettes constantly and chugged black coffee just to have enough energy to stay awake. He initially wanted to push it even further to around 100 pounds, but the producers had to step in because they thought he actually might die. He changed so drastically it makes anyone else who lost weight for a role look like they did not even try. He lost all muscle mass, his skin became paper thin, and his bones stuck out in every scene. Bale later described it as feeling like his body did not even belong to him. He was so malnourished that he'd sometimes zone out and completely forget where he was while filming. Even basic tasks like standing up or walking up a flight of stairs became exhausting. He said, when you're so skinny that you can hardly walk up a flight of stairs, you're like, this being a pure thought, it's like you've abandoned your body. The drastic weight loss left Bale visibly emaciated. Immediately after filming wrapped, Bale faced another body transformation challenge. He had to rapidly bulk up to 220 pounds in just 6 months for his next role as Batman Begins. Although The Machinist wasn't a major success following its release, Bale's physical transformation turned it into a cult classic, earning him a reputation as one of Hollywood's most extreme method actors. And we all know that method actors are so incredibly dedicated to their roles that they can often go insane, even potentially losing their lives for their art. But if you want to hear more about that, check out this video.
That's insane. That's crazy, bro. I kind of like it though. Like, preparing your body for the worst. For a scene. It's like, you're truly dedicated for your craft. I kind of want to do something like that. I ain't gonna lie.
There are key differences between an actor and a method actor. An actor will do what they need to do to get the job done, and a method actor will suffer deep psychological torture to make you fully believe their role is their true identity. To prepare for a role, a good actor will stick to the basics, hire a speech coach to develop an accent or stutter, pick up an intense workout regimen, or wear prosthetics like large noses or fat suits. They do what they need to do to look like they felt sad, happy, angry, or in pain. However, a method actor doesn't believe it's enough to just look like they have these emotions. They need to actually feel these emotions. And some method actors go to extreme lengths to make the performance perfect. From hitting themselves, to picking up a substance habit, to locking themselves in a dark room for a month to transform into a full-blown schizophrenic murderer. Unfortunately, the dedication to the role can have some drastic real-life consequences, with some method actors losing their sanity and potentially their lives for their art. Today we're going to discuss some of the all-time greats and the dark life of method acting, starting with Daniel Day-Lewis, who is arguably the king of the method. One of Daniel's most immersive performances was in the movie My Left Foot. Day-Lewis played Christy Brown, an Irish poet, writer, and painter with cerebral palsy.
Yeah, I know what age that's 10-year-old, the same age as me.
Don't give him any more. But Steve Crockett told me.
Touch it and I'll teach you the only part of your...
To prepare for this role, Day-Lewis spent most of his free time with kids suffering from cerebral palsy. He wanted to try his best to understand how they struggled and how they felt judged. By the time he arrived on set, Daniel Day-Lewis was completely immersed in his disabled character, and he wouldn't break character for anyone. Daniel's co-star, Kristen Sheridan, found it almost unbearable. He'd call you by your film name, and you'd call him Christy. It was madness. You'd be feeding him and wheeling him around. During the entire film, I only saw him walking once. This madness would pay off, as this role earned him his first Oscar for Best Actor a year later. However, this was not the end of method acting for Daniel Day-Lewis. He would continue to go to extreme lengths to embody these characters he was hired to portray, focusing on the smallest details that some might argue are not even necessary. For example, in his role as John Proctor in The Crucible, Day-Lewis built a 17th century house for himself only using mid-century tools. He built the rest of the set while remaining in costume the entire time, and he even lived in this replica home without running water or electricity for the duration of the film. As Hawkeye in The Last of the Mohicans, Day-Lewis would not eat anything unless he hunted it down himself in the Alabama wilderness. To Daniel Day-Lewis, method acting isn't really a choice. If he is not able to be a part of his character's world, he believes he won't be able to act at all.
I can't say for sure that it necessarily helps me, helps what I'm doing. But I believe that it does. I have a strong belief that it does, and that's really that's all that matters. That's all that matters. And beyond that, Charlie, I'd say that it's as much to do with this whole thing. The beginning of this, the life of any individual piece of work, begins with a compulsion of some kind. And you necessarily share that with the director, otherwise you might as well stay at home. You have a shared sense of urgency to tell that story. And this unleashes a curiosity that is very hard to satisfy. And that curiosity leads you to all kinds of strange and unknown places. It really seems to me to be part of the pleasure of that work. You explore that world, you discover it, you create it to some extent yourself. Why the hell not hang around there for a while?
By hanging around in these made-up worlds he created, Daniel has helped make some of the greatest movies in history, like Gangs of New York with Martin Scorsese, or Paul Thomas Anderson's There Will Be Blood.
Louder. Say it louder. I've abandoned my child! I've abandoned my child! I've abandoned my boy!
Although his approach to method acting has made him an industry legend, Day-Lewis's creative process takes an unimaginable toll on his health and well-being. Between films, he's known to disappear for months or years before taking on another role, usually refusing to share what he's been doing during that time. He feels that the method is probably necessary for his acting. However, in his rare interviews, he has said that performing can be taxing, and it forces him to take breaks to stay grounded.
The way in which I'm able to enjoy the work most seems to mean that I then have to stay away from it for a while.
What Daniel Day-Lewis is describing is a common feeling among method actors. He was just lucky enough to strike a balance where he could always find himself again. Although for some actors, removing themselves from a role isn't so easy, like when Jim Carrey basically lost his sanity and truly believed he was possessed by a dead artist named Andy Kaufman. But real quick, if you're busy but still want to eat real, high-quality meals... something new. Soft and the skin with care that went classic likely. It never gets boring. Cook Unity service works perfect for anyone made dish that takes just /Patrick C 50% ease. Jim Carrey first order of chef-made meals delivered fresh to your door. In the 1990s, Jim Carrey became a comedy icon in Hollywood, starring in classics like The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, and The Truman Show. He had become a bigger star than most actors or comedians could possibly dream of. And while he might not have claimed to be a method actor, he often heavily immersed himself in most of his roles. Over time, he felt that identity was an illusion, and he was done playing a game he saw as completely meaningless.
It's not our world.
None of this is real?
Nope.
So you're just passing
We don't
through?
matter. We don't matter.
Oh.
In fact, there was one specific role that made Carrey realize he lost his sense of self, which was during the film Man on the Moon, a biopic about his idol, performance artist Andy Kaufman.
I don't know if you call it method acting or whatever. It's like he was going to channel Andy Kaufman. He became Andy Kaufman for these 80 days that he was on the set that we were filming this movie.
Calling Andy Kaufman a comedian feels like an oversimplification. He was an enigma. His entire career was basically an experiment in how far he could blur the lines between comedy, performance art, and real life. During one of his comedy sets, Kaufman started reading The Great Gatsby verbatim. No jokes, just reading it straight. When people started leaving or booing, he kept going. Totally deadpan, treating it as an actual performance. Andy even started wrestling women at his comedy shows. He'd trash talk women, say they belonged in the kitchen, and challenge them to real matches. He even created alter egos that became famous in pop culture. The most prominent one was irreverent lounge singer Tony Clifton. The character was a chronic smoker and drinker who would show up at random events or television shoots with prostitutes. To add to this confusing performance art, Andy Kaufman's longtime friend Bob Zmuda would often play Tony Clifton, making some people believe Clifton was a real person since Andy and Clifton would be in the same room at once. Kaufman also loved professional wrestling, mostly because of the art of kayfabe, which is the established practice where wrestlers and their storylines are presented as real even though they are staged performances. Kaufman's rivalry with Jerry Lawler was one that brought professional wrestling into the mainstream. Their commitment to kayfabe was so legendary that it made audiences believe they genuinely hated each other. After one fight with Lawler in the ring, Andy Kaufman spent 3 nights in the hospital, but he wasn't actually hurt badly. He could have left in a few hours. He committed to his fake injury to make their next stunt more shocking. Kaufman showed up to an interview with David Letterman wearing a neck brace. Then the two traded insults before Lawler slapped Kaufman, and they broke out into a fight in front of a live studio audience. Now remember, Lawler and Kaufman were acting. They were actually friends in real life. Kaufman's performances confused people so much that when he died from lung cancer in 1984, a lot of fans believed his own funeral was just another prank. But Lawler and Kaufman remained so committed to their art that when Andy Kaufman died in real life, Lawler still remained in kayfabe.
But really, I am not, I've had calls all week ever since, ever since Andy Kaufman did pass away. I've had calls from TV stations all across the country wanting to know my comments about Andy Kaufman's death. I'm really the wrong person to talk to about that. I didn't like Andy Kaufman. Andy Kaufman didn't like me. I'm sorry that the guy's dead, but I would think that, I always thought that when somebody dies, you talk to somebody that thought a lot of him. I hope that if I die, they don't interview Jimmy Hart, because, I can imagine what he's going to say about it.
From the outside, Lawler's comments about Kaufman seem extremely harsh, but this is exactly what Kaufman would have wanted. To portray Andy Kaufman in a movie would take every ounce of focus that Jim Carrey had, and it was about to destroy him.
I think it's been a long process, and I'm not saying that I don't get caught up in the story, because the story's compelling sometimes. But it was definitely an important moment in the process where I found myself subjugating Jim Carrey for Andy Kaufman and Tony Clifton, and then at the end of it looking for Jim Carrey again and having trouble finding him. And at a certain point I realized, hey, wait a second, if it's so easy to lose Jim Carrey, who the hell is Jim Carrey?
Carrey lost his identity before the cameras even started rolling. He recalls lounging on a Malibu beach when he heard he got the part. After the news set in, Carrey looked at the ocean and thought, where would Andy be? What would he be doing right now? He actually assumed Andy would be trying to communicate telepathically, so he tried to. Immediately, he says, 30 or so dolphins surfaced, and then Andy showed up, tapped him on the shoulder, and said, "Sit down, I'll be doing my movie." What happened afterwards, Carrey adds, was out of my control. To Jim Carrey, Andy Kaufman wasn't just another role. He was everything Carrey admired as a human being and an artist. By the time production started for Man on the Moon in the late 90s, Carrey fully believed that Andy Kaufman had a paranormal control over his mind and body. I didn't black out, but the balance was way in Andy's corner. I broke a couple of times on weekends and stuff, but pretty much from when I woke up to when I went to bed, the choices were all his. Some of Carrey's methods were simple. He only responded when people called him Andy, and he behaved like him at all times.
Johnson County.
But then he started taking it much further. Carrey threw temper tantrums like Andy, showed up late and drunk to set like Andy, refused to say his lines like Andy, and he even disrespected and talked back to producers like Andy sometimes did. The entire cast were forced to hang out with Carrey's version of Andy Kaufman and his alter egos for the next 4 months, which led to some of the cast feeling like Carrey was a total nightmare to deal with.
Man on the Moon. Oh, it was challenging. It was not easy. You know, he was great, but it was tricky. You know, because it was sometimes hard to just kind of fit yourself around what he was doing. What was going on off camera was more insane than the actual movie.
So it's Jim Carrey playing Andy Kaufman, who's playing Tony Clifton?
Tony Clifton, yeah. So it was like, whenever he was Tony Clifton, it was particularly mayhem. Yeah, browbeating everybody, and he was walking around with stinky cheese in his pockets, and he was smearing stinky cheese on people. When he'd hug you, he'd be like, give me a hug, give me a hug. And he would he's stinking and...
Who pushed back the hardest? Who said, get the f*** off me?
I don't know that anybody did. That was the thing, is that it was such a fucking weird assault that I think people were so kind of stuck deer in the headlights that you couldn't really tell them off. We're just like, okay, because it was just sort of, it just occupied the whole room.
Jim was so unbearable that Universal refused to let the behind-the-scenes footage get released because they didn't want the world to think that Jim Carrey was an asshole.
The very first time I saw him, we were on the set of Universal Studios, and all of a sudden I see, bam! This big glass bottle of juice or orange juice or something comes flying through the air, almost hits me, and I'm like, what the heck? And I look over, and there's Jim Carrey, dressed as Andy Kaufman. He says, "I'll get you, Lawler!" And then he runs inside the trailer.
On more than one occasion, Carrey actually hung out with Andy's real family on the set while portraying their deceased son, providing anyone still grieving Andy's loss with closure. He even got in contact with Andy Kaufman's daughter, who never met him, to give her the chance to say, "I love you." Luckily, the family was supportive of this, with Kaufman's sister saying, he wasn't being shticky when he was being Andy with us. He was almost trying to give us a gift. At the time, Jim's performance was controversial. Critics, cast, and crew were unsure if Jim was just doing what was necessary to accurately, artistically represent Andy Kaufman, or if he was just kind of being a dick. Unfortunately, Jim Carrey is far from the only actor to push things a bit too far. Some actors embracing the method lose control almost entirely, creating performances that cause serious harm. Like when Val Kilmer decided to transform into the Lizard King of rock and roll and was accused of giving a young actress lifelong trauma. Val Kilmer was one of the most famous action movie stars in the business, starring in massive hits like Top Gun and Tombstone, but nothing could have prepared Kilmer for his role as Jim Morrison. Morrison was the frontman of The Doors, a 1960s band fueled by sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But like a lot of artists at the time, the drugs got the best of him, and he always had a difficulty holding it together.
I'd like to do a song or a piece of music that's just a pure expression of joy, the coming of spring or the sun rising, something like that. Just pure, unbounded joy.
As a rock musician, Jim Morrison is seen as one of the greats, making legendary songs like Light My Fire, Riders on the Storm, and Break On Through to the Other Side. However, his behavior on and off the stage was unhinged and reckless. During a performance in Miami, Morrison was charged with
I'd be damned if I paid for a concert and he just laying on the stage. Like, what? I'm not.
Decent exposure,
I would drag him off.
profanity, and exposing himself to the audience. When confronted about
What?
this or anything else, Morrison just didn't care. He never took advice from anyone. He refused to change, even for his friends and family. His drug use became more excessive, and he was known to have violent episodes where he'd turn on band members or girlfriends. There was one incident where a fight escalated so much that Morrison allegedly held a knife to one of his groupies. But Morrison achieved a level of status that made him immune to criticism. He was so famous that people still defended his behavior as typical rock star antics.
You know, he told me, like, you know, you'd be at a party, like, and it'd be the most beautiful chicks and the best drugs and
See, that's what's going on to this day. Like, nobody ain't holding none of these celebrities accountable because they like their craft, like they work. Like now it's like streamers now. It's like YouTubers and stuff. Like they literally doing stuff and now they still being famous over here. Like they still doing their stuff because they not getting held accountable. This is how it's gonna be every time they get famous, because they got fan base that they can do anything. That's why Diddy's doing what he's doing now. And now, look, when his fan base is lowered down because he ain't doing much, now look, he's on trial. Like, what? What? Like, if he was still, like, making music, going off, like what if he starts streaming and stuff, and he grow more bigger fan base? He would not be on trial right now. Like, y'all catching my drift right now? Like, he would not be on trial right now if he was as big as Kyson Net. See how I put the two together? You know what I'm saying?
I'd feel it, and then Jim Morrison would show up, shove someone down the stairs, and then go lay in the street until the cops come. He goes, "That's bullshit." You know, he like fuck up the whole scene, and I was like, it's kind of cool. I mean, it's kind of punk.
Morally aligned or not, nobody deserves to go the way Jim did, as Morrison's drug habits sadly got the best of him, and he died at the age of 27 of cardiac arrest. To become Jim Morrison, Kilmer locked himself away and memorized 50 songs from The Doors to perfect his voice, which is a major feat considering most actors just lip sync in fear of doing something wrong. Kilmer then dressed like Jim, walked like him, and moved like him for months until he matched his mannerisms perfectly. But to capture Jim Morrison's unpredictable behavior, Val Kilmer felt that he had to embrace everything that Morrison was, and this took a really dark turn, especially when it came to how Kilmer captured Morrison's controversial relationships with women.
Val, how did you survive the making of this movie? Because really it was as much as a survival as just being an actor with all the things you had to go through.
Yeah. Movies usually are about endurance. Prayer, drinking that carrot juice. I didn't get seduced into his style of living, but I had to and needed to for the role to be as disciplined as he was in these escapades. He was a very disciplined drinker as much as he was a disciplined artist. I mean, he was looking for inspiration every second of the day.
Meg Ryan said it kind of got to her after a few months, a little bit, the darkness.
Well, I too, I'm provoking. She's getting hammered, so that hurts. You know, as much as it hurt to do it, it hurts to be under, you know, someone calls you point where you start flinching.
In the wake of the Me Too movement, former actress Caitlin O'Heaney made some serious allegations about her experience auditioning for the role, saying Val Kilmer physically assaulted her while everyone around stood and watched it like it was normal. During the audition, Kilmer unexpectedly struck me in the face and knocked me to the ground. When I got to the room, Val Kilmer picked me up and shaked me, throwing me down to the floor. Stone just stood there the whole time, laughing. Some of the crew have rejected O'Heaney's claims, like casting director director Ramon Garcia, who said Ohini and all other actresses were warned that they would be reading a volatile scene that could result in physical contact. I remember there was a moment Val pinned her to the wall, all part of the scene, she explained, adding that she immediately stopped the scene before it got carried away. But others still see it as suspicious, considering Ohini went to the police right after the incident, making a formal report. And the fact that Stone and Kilmer reached a settlement outside of court makes things a little more suspicious. Because of his dedication to the immersive performance, rumors have circulated that Kilmer needed therapy after the role, and if this happens to be true, he's not alone. Replacing one identity for another, especially for long periods of time, often has a price. There's actually a science behind why people have trouble finding their sense of self after becoming another person. In a study called Becoming a Character, Dissociation in Conservatory Acting Students, psychologists attempted to discover the impacts of method acting and what it does to the human brain, using the Dissociative Experiences Scale, DES-2, measuring the disconnect between the mind and reality. Giving the test to actors before and after 6 months of training, doctors found that, although no significant changes occurred over time, acting students scored significantly higher than the general population on the DES-2, showing traits that psychologists find when looking for psychopathy. And while this doesn't mean actors are psychopaths, it does mean they are entering a sort of flow state that can lead to psychopathic tendencies. In theory, given enough time.
What? Well, ain't that what acting is? Because why do they get the two-sided masks and some stuff like that? And I'm asking these questions because I was on that tip because I was trying to be an actress. Like, I was trying to do all that. I was trying to, like, get in my role. I do method acting a little bit. Sometimes I do lose myself. I didn't know that becomes like a whole cycle thing.
This proves people can lose their identities to the point where they believe they are someone else. What's interesting is that this same phenomenon was found in actor for long periods of time. In criminal organizations, they witness horrible crimes, heists, and even murder. Yet this isn't what cops have trouble forgetting when they finally go back to normal life. In fact, investigators found that the two main stressors cops experience after undercover work don't even have to do with violence, but loss of identity and reintegration into society. As a result, the study showed that almost half of cops going undercover can't fully rejoin society after being someone else, and those who have a chance to rebuild often refuse help from health professionals to protect their careers. You can imagine the difficult choice these method actors have to face: stay in character and lose your sanity, or go to therapy and admit that you lost your identity acting. It takes a deep psychological toll on those who do it, which is especially dark when you consider they are mostly doing it for the good of others. James Gandolfini is another legendary method actor on those who do it, which is especially dark when you consider they are mostly doing it for the good of others. James Gandolfini is another legendary method actor.
I don't think I ever admit to losing myself. I don't think I lost myself doing a... Because I was by myself and I was just always trying to be masculine and stuff like that. So I would be like acting like a male when I play, you know, when I try to make my films and stuff that I do. And I do acting. So I would act out the male role and then I would act out the female role. And then I would just do mostly male roles. And then somehow it just kind of flicked on and I just became too masculine. I became actually a man in my mind. And my mom was like, "To you acting too masculine. You acting like really need me. You acting like a man, basically." And I was like, "No, I'm not. Like, what do you mean? Like," and I still got it, but it's like a little controllable. You know, it's a little like I got it. I'm good. Like it's still me, but sometimes I could switch that off and actually go into my male mode now. And it's like, what's the problem? You know? I didn't actually see it as psycho though. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, did I create something? Like, am I schizophrenic? Or bipolar? Is it bipolar? Am I bipolar? That's something to think about.
Who went to unimaginable lengths, like intentionally causing himself physical pain.
And I know y'all over here thinking that I'm playing now. I'm just like talking out of my ass. But I really am that I am. I'm going to show y'all a scene. Like, I literally do get into characters when I feel like I'm being that person. Like, I really do. And it be shocking me, low-key, and I be like, what the heck is that? I be in it. Like, I be letting out some tears, low-key. I be doing my thing. But, yeah. Y'all don't believe me.
He was a ruthless mob boss. James Gandolfini changed how people looked at organized crime when he was selected to star in The Sopranos, a series that made HBO a household name. It was a story about an Italian crime family in New Jersey, created by writer and director David Chase. In order to grab the audience's attention, Chase felt that the Sopranos star had to be a badass. To do this, he came up with a leading character named Tony Soprano, a soon-to-be mob boss who embodied the spirit of an old-school American man, trying to fit into U.S. society after the country was in decline. When James Gandolfini auditioned for the role, it was love at first sight. He left in the middle of the first audition, Chase recalled, but we thought he was great. So our casting directors got him to come to my house and he read the scene. And it was like, bang. But Chase had no idea what lengths the actor would go to bring Tony Soprano to life. James Gandolfini's co-star Michael Imperioli, who played Tony's nephew, Christopher Moltisanti, described his first real experience with James' method in an interview on the Joe Rogan Experience.
Like anything, you start to see what you have, like what are these actors bringing, what are they playing to their strengths and what kind of qualities they're bringing to it. Just like there's that one scene in the pilot where towards the end of the pilot, like my character tells Tony Soprano, "Oh, I could go to Hollywood and sell my story or something." And in the script, it was he was like fatherly, like, "You don't want to do that and sell out. You got to stay with us and build a family or whatever." And instead, Jim just grabs me, by the throat or something like that, and it became very menacing and very intimidating. And he really, and I think David saw that and was like, "Oh, wow, that's the guy. That's the character." And it probably influenced how he took the story and how he would write it. But I think a lot of the tone was already in his head. But seeing what the actors were bringing to it, I think, influenced a lot.
Gandolfini's presence on screen as Tony demanded your attention. He could be calm and quiet during a conversation, only to become explosive and merciless a second later, especially during therapy sessions with co-star Lorraine Bracco as Dr. Melfi.
So you let me sit there.
Please sit down.
How the am I supposed to trust you? You're my doctor.
Please sit down. You're scaring me. You've been drinking.
Didn't you help her?
Sometimes you can't.
I bet you charged her enough, didn't you, huh? I bet you didn't cut her a deal because you're incompetent.
He was vulnerable, sensitive, ruthless, and cunning all at the same time. The method acting started with the typical tactics. He'd walk around in the set in his character's bathrobe with a mean attitude or interact with actors as if they were in a scene. But as the drama continued throughout the series, Tony Soprano's crimes and behavior would get darker, and Gandolfini did everything he could to match that energy before filming. If Tony was binge eating to cope with inner pain, he would do the same. And to capture physical pain or Tony's anger perfectly, the actor would deliberately drive himself into a rage, hitting himself on the head or depriving himself of sleep. Drink 6 cups of coffee, he said, describing his technique, or just walk around with a rock in your shoe. It's silly, but it works. In an HBO documentary about The Sopranos titled Wise Guy, David Chase in The Sopranos, Michael Imperioli describes the real Gandolfini saying, "He was very different than Tony Soprano. He was very laid back, he wore Birkenstocks and liked Green Day and AC/DC. What's funny is that a lot of fans look at Tony Soprano as kind of a role model." A second later, especially during therapy sessions with co-star Lorraine Bracco as Dr. Melfi.
So you let me sit there.
Please sit down.
How the f am I supposed to trust you? You're my doctor.
Please sit down. You're scaring me. You've been
Very scary in a lot of ways. He probably felt that, people thinking he's Tony Soprano and he's not. To adapt, Gandolfini's method acting evolved to the point where he would do anything to make his acting believable, even if it had real-life consequences. James Gandolfini had on and off issues with substance abuse before The Sopranos started. He would drink heavily and was known to smoke constantly. Portraying Tony made things worse. Gandolfini had lost control, often being late to work high on that booger sugar or extremely drunk. HBO's chairman and CEO at the time, Chris Albrecht, talked about the chaos, saying, "Eventually the cast and crew tried to have an intervention with the actor. He walked in, saw everyone sitting there and was like, 'Oh, F this,' and he walked out." Albrecht recalled that Gandolfini said, "Fire me." The method would continue to destroy Gandolfini inside and out. It's hard to definitively say that method acting was the main cause, but the stress obviously leaked into Gandolfini's personal life. In 2002, his addiction got so bad that his wife filed for divorce. 3 years later, he failed to appear for the Golden Globes as a presenter, where he was later found severely drunk and making snow angels in front of his hotel, even though there wasn't any snow on the concrete beneath him. Any fan of The Sopranos can't deny that James Gandolfini's method acting was great, and the HBO masterpiece would have never grown into a billion-dollar asset without Tony Soprano as the main character. But it also showed that putting 110% dedication into a role can tear your real life apart. But whenever the topic of method acting comes up, there is a role that must be included in the conversation, and that is Heath Ledger's Joker in The Dark Knight, which is easily one of the greatest method acting performances in Hollywood history, one that many suspect actually led to Ledger's early death. Heath Ledger was becoming a major Hollywood star, acting in well-known films like 10 Things I Hate About You, The Patriot, A Knight's Tale, and Brokeback Mountain. As his career was reaching new heights, director Christopher Nolan reached out to see if Ledger would star in his new Batman trilogy. Not as the Joker, but rather billionaire Bruce Wayne in Batman Begins, before the role was ultimately given to Christian Bale. Surprisingly, Heath Ledger wanted nothing to do with the project, politely declining the offer because he failed to see Nolan's vision for the film. To Ledger, the idea of being part of a superhero franchise didn't seem fulfilling. In fact, when an interview asked him if he ever considered being a superhero before, he said, "Not really. With the tights and undies and the boots, I would just feel stupid and silly. I couldn't pull it off, and there are other people who can perfectly, but I just couldn't take myself seriously." But all of that would change when Ledger saw Batman Begins on screen. Sitting in the theater, he realized that Nolan's Batman story wasn't like other comic book adaptations. It was more edgy and dark. And when Ledger learned that the sequel, The Dark Knight, needed someone to play the Joker, Batman's insane arch-nemesis, suddenly he needed to be a part of the film no matter what. To become the Joker, Heath Ledger locked himself in a hotel room for over a month. In isolation, he studied the materials that Christopher Nolan gave him, and constantly worked on the character's posture, voice, and dark psychology. To bring it to another level, he also made entries into the infamous
Lock yourself in a motel room for a year. Actually, 2 years.
sinister writing, manic scribbles, and disturbing pictures. Some pages had references to Stanley Kubrick's
I did that.
a movie about psychopaths and abuse. There was a photo of a
During
who
COVID.
developed his signature laugh. Ledger even
Yeah,
titled
I think I did snap. I ain't gonna lie.
where he wrote, Joker diary, which included sinister writing, manic scribbles, and disturbing pictures. Some pages had references to Stanley Kubrick's Clockwork Orange, a movie about psychopaths and abuse. There was a photo of a hyena to develop his signature laugh. Ledger even made a list titled Things That Made Me Laugh, where he wrote blind babies, landmines, AIDS, beloved pets in road accidents, statistics, pencil cases, brunch, and the periodic table of elements. The journal was packed with things that might have had him condemned to a mental institution if it weren't made for a movie.
We looked at paintings by Francis Bacon, visual reference, looked at all kinds of things, talked about all kinds of different philosophical ideas behind the Joker and anarchy and chaos and what he would represent. And Heath was just ready to do it. He was ready to do something that big.
During filming, Ledger had immersed himself so deeply into the role that even his cast members could not help but be a little apprehensive. He'd look at the diary to tap into his foreign personality and then bring that intensity into every scene. Ledger even told Christian Bale not to hold back when hitting him during fight scenes, which freaked Bale out because he had been training his body to look like a lethal weapon. He was kinda egging me on. I was saying, you know what? I don't need to hit you. It's going to look just as good if I didn't. And he's going, go on, go on, go on. He was slamming himself around, and there were tiled walls inside of that set which were cracked and dented from him hurling himself into them. When people finally saw the Batman movie, most of the audience didn't even know it was Heath Ledger behind the mask of pain. He turned into something truly evil, willing to destroy the world just for the fun of it. Ledger's portrayal of the Joker is so damn good that every other actor who plays the comic book villain almost looks like they're trying to do an impression of him. And after The Dark Knight's release in 2008, Heath Ledger's work had finally paid off, securing over $1 million.
That's how you know you're doing good. Because when somebody starts seeing that you acting like that person, you're good. You're in there.
By box office, it's considered to be the greatest Batman film of all time. Now, we have covered extensively in this video about how many of the great method actors lose themselves, their sanity, and often turn to substances to cope with the psychological torture. Therefore, many just assumed that Ledger was dealing with the exact same thing. After all, his preparation for this role was just as immersive and dedicated as the previous actors I mentioned. However, one key mistake Ledger made was jumping right into another film role after The Dark Knight called The Imaginarium of Dr. Panarsis. And we know the best way to find balance in this brutal world of method acting is to take time off and recalibrate before jumping into a new identity. Tragically, before the movie release in 2009, the 28-year-old actor was found dead in his Manhattan apartment. On his nightstand was a new prescription and a bottle of pills. Heath Ledger's death was revealed to be an accidental overdose, but that wasn't a good enough explanation for the people who felt like they lost a living legend. Rumors circulated about whether or not he lost his mind after The Dark Knight. Fans and journalists cited something Ledger had said in a New York Times profile while the movie was still in production. It is a physically and mentally draining role. Nolan's Joker is a psychopathic, mass-murdering, schizophrenic clown with zero empathy. This rumor became fact in the court of public opinion that the Joker role killed Heath Ledger. However, the truth was Ledger had been dealing with insomnia years before the Batman trilogy existed. To try and sleep, Ledger would take a lethal cocktail of prescription medications including Oxycontin, Vicodin, Valium, Xanax, Unisong, and Risterol. Heath's own sister reportedly told him in private, "You can't mix drugs that you don't know anything about." Today, people debate whether or not Ledger would still be with us if he did not take on the role as the Joker. I'm no doctor or medical professional, so we can't definitively say that this role was the reason for his early passing, but because of what we know about the deep psychological ramifications of method acting, combined with a toxic combination of prescription pills, it was a tragic disaster waiting to happen.
Well, if you think about it, you did say you can become a psychopath if you do method acting. So maybe he became that. Maybe he did. You know. Maybe the Joker role did kill him in GTA. It's pretty sad. I don't want to get into that situation, but I do want to become that type of acting. Just come on, give me a sec. Weekend after time. Okay. Ain't that's the Okay. So we're done with those two videos. Very interesting videos. Let's see what else we could watch. Or should we just start playing the game again? Like, I'm only 1 hour in at this point. I'm gonna get into it. Let's get into it. Alright.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we have some juicy tea to spill about DDG.
Where's the actual news, the actual tea? Dailies and shit. Let's talk about it, man.
I went through all these documents. Y'all ain't getting the voice for the people right now. Y'all getting Kim from New York, okay? Did she put the air tag in the vitamin bottle in the car? Hallie, Child, I was reading it like, oh my God. Child was popping up at the movie theater using the air tag. Okay, let's go through the beginning. So Hallie originally filed for full custody and a restraining order and child support. And she also asked the judge, can she take her son to Italy because she has to go to work for 2 months. And she's supposed to leave June 7th. And DDG today filed for a restraining order and full custody. And he's also asking the judge not to allow her to go to Italy because he's saying that she self-harmed herself and that she has repeatedly done this throughout their relationship. Basically saying that the child is not protected in her custody. So she might not even go to Italy come June 7th. But when I tell you I read all these pages and my mouth was on the floor. And I mean, he had text message after text message. Child, what the hell? Okay, so this started from March 2022. This is before the pregnancy. This is their first incident where she didn't trust him. She basically was accusing him of cheating, and they got into this big argument, and he left, and she said that she was going to off herself. So she was basically using this tactic to try to get him to come back and, you know, make him feel guilty for leaving in the first place. So she has been doing this throughout their relationship. Then DDG also mentioned when he DM'd Ruby Rose, and Hallie was very upset. They got into this big, huge argument behind it. She ended up texting, well, he didn't put who the person was, but Baby Rich already hinted at it already. She ended up texting Brent Fires that night to go to a Grammys party just to get back at DDG. Now, DDG was done with the relationship at that point, but she was trying to get, even though she did that, she was trying to get back with him, and she yet again was using the self-harming tactic that she does. But now let's talk about the actual pregnancy. One night, Hallie called DDG and said that she was bleeding and having cramps. So he called the GYN, and this was early on in her pregnancy. He called the GYN and found out that she took an abortion pill, and that's why she was bleeding and cramping, because she was trying to get rid of the baby, because she was upset. And according to DDG, she was using the pregnancy to try to manipulate him. You know.
What? Yo. Nah. She took the B pill. What? That mean little Halo wouldn't be here, bro? That's crazy.
When he didn't do what she wanted him to do, she would threaten him, say that she's gonna get rid of the baby. And they already had a conversation about co-parenting if things didn't work out. I guess Hallie didn't want to do that, so she had the pill without notifying him, and then he found out about it, and then, you know, they got into this argument, and then he didn't want to talk to her no more, but then she felt some type of way about the situation, and she wanted to really be with him, and now she's trying to go to the medical appointments so she can keep her baby and make sure that the baby wasn't harmed, when she kept reassuring DDG that the baby was okay. The pill didn't do anything because she didn't take the second pill, but at this point, he's upset because if we already had a discussion and you got upset, and based off of you getting upset for that very moment and you ready to make a big change or make this drastic decision without me, like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just a lot. So fast forward, they ended up getting back together. More toxic shit was going on. They ended up getting into an argument again. They ended up breaking up. At this point, Hallie is well off into her pregnancy, and they're now broken up again. And DDG, who now has more time on his hands, is going to the studio. He's hanging out with his friends, and there was an incident where he went to a movie theater. Hallie popped up at the movie theater because he was there with the girl, but he said in the statement that this was just a friend. But Hallie is like 6+ months at this point, so she's very upset because they're not together, and then you're out and about with somebody else. But he not knowing how she even knew that they were at this movie. Come to find out, she was putting air tags in all his cars. DDG was wondering why he was getting notification that an air tag was tracking him when he didn't have an air tag. It was her air tag. She put it in the car inside of a vitamin bottle, knowing he wasn't going to look at no vitamin bottle. And she put it inside of the car, and the air tag was tracking me. When Hallie arrived at the movie theater, Sis was turning up. Okay, Sis was screaming before she even got in. She opened the door and didn't even know where he was at. She said, "Motherfucker." Motherfucker. Sis was going off using every profanity word she could think of inside that movie theater. It was so bad that DDG and the girl had to get up and leave, when she ended up following behind them and was still cursing them out, calling them all type of names, trying to fight the girl, put hands on the girl. The girl had to kind of move it. You know, she ain't trying to fight Hallie because at this point, Hallie is good and pregnant at this point. She got a whole belly. I don't even understand how we didn't even capture this footage. Okay, where was the people at in the movie theaters? Child, you know, something like that. People.
Now you know. Whoever got those footage is Beyonce and Jay-Z. Hands down. Okay? That's who got those footage. The screaming footage of Hailey just going crazy. Like, Haley,
They don't even know who you are. They ready to throw their camera up. The Little Mermaid was turning up in the movie theater, honey. She ain't care about who the hell she was at that moment. Y'all was about to feel this wrath. Now let's fast forward a little bit, because after she gave birth to Halo, before she even gave birth to Halo, at this point DDG felt like he had to be with her in order for her not to do something to harm their child or herself. And she knew this, and she was trying to use this as a manipulation tactic to try to keep him, basically, because at that point he was done with her. You screaming at me, you're beating on me, you pulling out knives, you're trying to cut me up. Child, DDG at some point was done, but he couldn't be completely done because now you done welcomed a baby in this situation. They had the baby, right? And everything was going well. They were still trying to make things work. And then another incident happened where they got into another argument, and now firearms were pulled out because DDG has a firearm, and Hallie knows that, and she stays in the house. Allegedly, she pulled out the firearm because he already left the house, and she left the house with the firearm looking for him and wondering where he was at. And according to him, he said that she was insecure. She always thought he was cheating on her. She always thought that he was doing something other than what he was saying. So Sis was just... it was just a lot. She's driving in the car after an argument with Halo in the back. She's crying, yelling at him on the phone. At this point, DDG is scared for his son's life and her life because she's mad and yelling and driving fast, you know, and he's on the phone. He can't do nothing about it. And then another incident kept happening, and then it just keep reoccurring at this point. It's coming too close together. Before, it was like, you know, we had some gaps in between. We have little arguments, blowouts, and stuff like that, and it had some time. And now it's reoccurring too fast. Okay? She's hitting him and slapping him in front of the family. She's calling him all type of names. The son is there. He sees this. It's just becoming too toxic. And at this point, DDG had to walk away from the situation. They broke up. They went their own separate ways. This is when she bought her house. He bought his penthouse. But Hallie is saying that she is the primary parent. And she's trying to control the situation according to DDG. She doesn't allow DDG to see the child as punishment because he didn't do what she wanted him to do. And at this point, it was becoming tiresome. Y'all know he came to the internet. Now, fast forward to the incident that she brought up in her statement when he went to go pick up Halo because she said that he could stay overnight. And when he was picking up Halo and she had Halo in her arms and she wanted to put the baby in the car, he said in the midst of them having a conversation, he saw that she was getting agitated and frustrated and he really didn't want to have the conversation. And it started to escalate. They started to argue and she refused to get out the car. She ended up locking herself in the car. Then he ended up calling his mom because he didn't know what to do in the situation. So the mom was here for everything. So I'm pretty sure we gonna have the mom testify because he called his mom for everything. Oh, let's go back because there was so much that happened. I forgot about this part. DDG, Halle Bailey, and Halo went to a Bruno Mars concert. And at the concert, I don't know what happened, but Halle ended up getting upset and she wanted to leave the concert early. So they ended up leaving the concert early, but then they ended up getting into an argument and it got so bad to the point that DDG had to pull over his car and start recording because this is just the transcript of what was said on that video. But he has the actual video of Halle going off of him. So DDG is the respondent and she's the petitioner. He said, "You keep hitting me." She said, "You stupid B. You keep hitting me." So something happened that night where she thought that he cheated on her. I don't know if she was looking through his phone because he said that in the statement as well, that she would randomly look at his phone. She would destroy his computer, his laptop. She had a problem with everybody that he collabed with. That's why he rarely collabed with women.
DG, I'm not trying to be messy, but you need to leak that video. I ain't gonna get. I know Halo might see this or he will see this, but it's already on the internet. It's already on there. It's like, it's there, okay? So you might as well go ahead and leak the video.
At the time that they were together, but I felt like they both had issues when it came to that because he had a problem with her kissing and doing things on film, and she had a problem with him collabing with females, which I mentioned this before, which a lot of people was like, "Oh no, she don't have no problem." Yes, she does. Secretly, she was together, but I felt like they both had issues when it came to that because he had a problem with her kissing and doing things on film, and she had a problem with him collabing with females, which I mentioned this before, which a lot of people was like, "Oh no, she don't have no problem." Yes, she does. Secretly, she was yelling at him. She was insecure. She didn't want him to work with other females, and this is why towards the end of their relationship, it didn't work out because he was trying to collab and get his streaming career up, and she didn't like that. So this is why they had all these issues. Okay, so pretty much he's saying, "You hitting me," she's hitting him, she's calling him all type of names, she's telling him he's cheating, and they're going back and forth. It got to the point where he ended up calling his mom again, and like I said, she has been in the midst of this situation yet again. The mom and George had to pop up and de-escalate the situation because they're going back and forth and it's becoming too toxic. So this was a recurring thing throughout their relationship that he mentioned he got evidence for, he got receipts for. Now back to the incident that happened in January when he had to go pick up Halo from Halle Bailey's house, and Halle Bailey and DDG ended up arguing because they were talking about visitation and a schedule, which I don't know, in my opinion, I just think their careers is too demanding to have a schedule. But anyway, they got into an argument. They were going back and forth. Halle locked herself in the car. DDG called his mom. The mom was trying to de-escalate the situation. It didn't work out. They ended up going back and forth. Finally, some way he got into his car. She got mad. She lunged herself to the front of the car trying to attack him. Ended up hitting her mouth on the steering wheel. He said it wasn't him that hit her mouth. She hit her own mouth when she was trying to lunge at him. And she ended up falling because she was in the middle console. And she was trying to attack him, and she ended up falling on the wheel, and she hit her mouth, her own mouth. Anyway, he showed scratches where she scratched him during the altercation because she was trying to grab him, and he was just trying to get away from her. Now, the whole ride back to his house, because she said that she stayed in the house, she was quiet. She was in the back seat. She was with their son, and they got to the house.
I think DDG might be lying about this one. I ain't gonna lie. I didn't see he purposely hit her, but he probably made a mistake and like, "Get off of me," I'm like, and then he probably popped her in the mouth. Still. But you ain't have to lie about her in her mouth. She probably just like, trying to attack you, right? You like, oh, and then you pushed her onto the steering wheel, and she hit her mouth. Could have been like that. Just saying. Could have been like that.
He went
That
into
don't mean no
and
sense.
she
It
stayed
just don't
outside
make no
and
sense
talked
to
to
my
his
brain.
mom.
I'm
She
sorry.
talked to his sister. He said he got this on camera, which that's more evidence. And DDG's sister, TT, ended up driving her home. They have evidence to show that she was outside the house talking and she was calm. Now, this is the part of the text messages that just took me out. Sister said a whole bunch of stuff in the midst of a conversation. This happened August 23rd, 2022. DDG responded to a text message. He said, phone is on airplane mode. I'm not letting you ruin my day over that BS. The trust issues are becoming overwhelming. Maybe that's for the best. I put in too much time and effort into making you happy to have to deal with this BS every other day. And in your eyes, you're never wrong. It's frustrating. I'm over it. I'm no longer entertaining this argument. I need to work on becoming more successful like Jay-Z, like you said. What? Sis was trying to get her Jay-Z, baby. Now, this is another text message where Hallie is talking. She said, you put your phone on airplane mode and say you're not dealing with it. But when something bad happens, don't say anything because this was my attempt to beg you to listen to me. To just
Oh, wait. That black line was a little too long. What is he blocking, bro? Is he blocking the dates of when he tested? That's kind of fishy, I ain't gonna lie. Not trying to pick sides, but oh, okay. Okay, it's not blocking the dates, okay. But why is that test so long, though? The other one, she was been spilling, I ain't gonna lie. She was just really mad. But yeah.
Something bad happens, don't say anything because this was my attempt to beg you to listen to me, to just answer the phone, to just hear me, and to try to understand where I'm coming from. But you don't, and you'll regret it. You'll regret ever meeting me. Go back to those bees you're used to. So Hallie actually texted him after the incident in February. This happened in January when she was saying that her tooth got chipped. She texted him and she talked about the incident. She said, well, he responded. He said, you didn't talk about Halo for almost 2 minutes. That whole conversation was about girls. I'm working. I don't know what to tell you. Hallie says, every day I want to die because of the way you embarrass me online and allow other women to speak on me. I keep going because of how much I love my son. DDG responded, I have $40,000 in bills every month. I have no choice but to work. DDG responded back, send me the clip of the girl disrespecting you. I'll give you $10,000 if you can. Now this happened last year on Mother's Day when she took his weapon and he was trying to get her to come back to the house. She said that she was going home, she was going to pack her stuff, and he texted her, if you don't come back here, I'm going to call the police. I don't want you to do something stupid. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. You have a son. I know you took my weapon. You're going to let him go through life without a mom? I have to call the police. I can't let this happen. I done went through all these documents. Y'all ain't getting the voice for the people.
Hold on. That ended so goddamn quick. Hold up. That can't be the only. How you end it off like that? Like, that's weird. It's the one on sorry. What was it up on? Yeah, that's it. That's crazy. But that whole incident, it gotta be true because did she not made a video of it? Or am I tripping? And then she said something about it being true. Like, even she used to get in the done that way. Now, I'm not trying to do copyright, but like, This supposed to be like resemblance, like the movie theater or something, like. She went off on movie theater. Let's see. Hold on, wait. She showed up and she see him with another girl. She's sneaking in. She's, you know, like all that. Tagged his car. Hold on, wait. Like she did put it in the video, bro. Like, pretty weird. Okay. And she admit that it was like, because when she was talking about it, she said it was like based on a true story. It's literally called Because I Love You.
Situation involving DDG having to look after her in a vulnerable moment.
Okay, let me see some of your questions. Okay, somebody asked, what was the writing process like with Miss Ray? Okay, so you guys know, I've known Ray for a little bit now, for a few years. I would always see her at writing camps. I think we would always see each other at like B's writing camps, and we just were obsessed with her, like just how
Even
lovely
right
of
here,
a person she
ain't
is.
her teeth is already chipped? Or am I tripping?
And like how talented she is, her and her sisters. And I don't know, I just really click with just women, like female energy when creating, because I was so used to writing with Chloe my whole life. So when I meet another fellow talented musician who just loves creating, it makes me so happy. So I'm so proud of Ray and everything she's done and everything she's doing. So yeah, I was so grateful that she had helped me with a lot of songs actually on my project that's gonna come out, but this one is one of my favorites. Yeah, okay, next question. How did you come up with the concept for the video? Well, I don't want to spill too much about it, but it is based off of my real life events. I feel like this whole period of my life, I'm in a new transitional phase of just fun. Does it still say bad connection? Can you guys see me? Sorry. Should I turn on my LTE? But basically, anyway, long story short, it's based on. Sorry, guys.
See how it start lagging when she's trying to say it? The industry is weird, bro. That's crazy. It's like when you start talking about certain stuff that they know the artist or the person that they trying to shine light on is saying something that they aren't supposed to be saying, so it automatically start messing up the connection. So you know what I'm trying to get at.
My Wi-Fi is bad. Sorry. Can you see me again?
Let her speak
It
on
should
it.
work now, though. Yay! Okay, we're back. We are back and we're better. Yeah, let me know if this is better, if you guys can see me here and stuff. I'm sorry if it keeps stopping. I'm in the basement and my Wi-Fi is not great. But, like I was saying before, this song is very near and dear to my heart. It's based off of true events. And, yeah, I hope that you guys like it. But if you click the link in my bio right now, and I'm also going to put it here in the comments so that you can just copy it. And then we just watch it together in about 2 more minutes. I'm going to pin this comment, and then, yeah, but it's literally, it's in here, or it's in my Instagram bio. So as soon as we click off this live in about 2 minutes, just hit my profile and then click the link, and then I want to see what you guys think. Yeah, I'm really curious to see what you guys think. I've never done a video like this. This is like a little bit of me coming out of my comfort zone. Just a little bit of what you guys are used to seeing of me. So I'm excited, and I hope that you like it. Yeah, I'm like, somebody said I'm going to watch it on my big screen. Thank you. But if everybody now goes, well, in about 1 minute, if you click this link that I just pinned, or go to the bio, my IG bio, or my Twitter, or whatever, click it right now, and you can literally watch it. I'm so excited. It's, yeah, we got 1 more minute. Y'all, I'm nervous. My heart is beating fast. I really do want to know what y'all think, though, because I like it, but I'm trying something new, you know? It's a little bit out of my comfort, and but it's a song I love. So it's 9 o'clock now. You can go watch it. Click off of here. I'm leaving. I'm going to go watch it.
She confirmed that it was true. So everything DDG just tested or showed the test messages to, she confirmed that it was true. What the actual hell?
Rare photos that will blow your mind. A dead whale on the brink of exploding. 2,000 years old tree in South Africa, known as Tree of Life. This famous photo from 1969 of Jerry West became the basis of the NBA logo. Polar bear paw compared to human hands. This cloud photographed from a commercial flight that is creating a massive shadow. A fully excavated Easter Island head. That tiny little dot in front of the sun is Mercury. This 12,000-year-old strange statue from Russia, covered with unknown symbols, is the oldest wooden statue in the world. This is how big a baby kangaroo is when it's born. It then spends the next 4 months or so in its mother's pouch. A Japanese man named Yasuo Takamatsu lost his wife in the 2011 earthquake and has not stopped looking for her body for more than 10 years. He has dived more than 800 times into the ocean in an attempt to retrieve her. Someone discovered a secret house hidden in their attic. This is Mill Ends Park in Portland, Oregon, and is the smallest park in the world according to the Guinness Book. Bathroom over an abandoned 15-story. An 8,000-year-old cave painting in eastern Spain depicting a woman holding onto lianas to gather honey from a beehive. Untouched 1800s, cemetery preserved in the basement of a tall building built over it. This snake has mistaken itself for food and is currently stuck in a situation like this. 12-year-old girl prodigy April Adkins carries her family on her back, over 425 pounds, in Santa Monica, Muscle Beach, California, 1954. Over 80 boxes full of Nazi material found in basement of Argentina's Supreme Court. In 2013, a Florida man, Jeff Bush, was sleeping in his bedroom when a large sinkhole opened up directly underneath his bed, swallowing him and his entire bedroom. His brother heard him scream but was unable to see or reach him in time. Bush's body was never recovered. Drawing of a schizophrenic inmate. He painted a girl inspired by his imagination, and when he met her likeness, he married her. One of the most chilling after effects of Nagasaki and Hiroshima atomic bombing was the shadows of people who were vaporized or preserved on the ground where they once stood.
What?
Richard Jewell, who saved hundreds of lives in Atlanta Olympic bombing in 1996, had his entire life ruined by media accusations. Woman cutting her birthday cake in Iran, 1973, 5 years before the Islamic Revolution. 12-inch eel removed from man's abdomen after it slit up his anus. Two identical strangers met by chance at a hockey game, only to have a third look-alike discover their photo online. Amber Tamblyn posing with her body double on the set of The Ring, 2002. Martin Pistorius slipped into a coma aged 12.
That movie
He could
still
not
scares
move,
me to this day.
communicate, or do anything for himself for 10 more years. His mind was awake when he was 14 years old, but trapped in his lifeless body. He heard his mother saying, "I hope you die" to him. Everybody lost hope, but he survived. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more content. Rare photos that will blow your mind. A dead whale.
That's mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. Come on. That's one. Oh, it's not the same browser. Okay. Embarrassing. Why this browser don't want to work?
Excuse me, sir.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so sorry. Could you help me with a couple dollars? I'm
Oh no.
this is for my daughter's birthday.
We would have like we
You'd be saving me so much.
I don't think I misplaced my wallet, but I couldn't really. Uh, I've got a couple bucks in here, bud.
Is everything okay?
I gotta figure out what I've done with my wallet because if add that to the list of it's a rough month for me, and
Oh my god.
I'm
Wait, first of all, what's your name, man?
Hi, I'm Brad. Pod.
It's Jason. Thank you so much for wanting to help me, Brad. Brad.
You said it's for your daughter, right?
Yeah, it's for my daughter.
I would have more money. I must have either left my wallet in the car.
No.
Or,
Brad, it seems like you got a lot going on in your mind right now.
I can barely think straight right now, man. I'm sorry. I'm really running on very little sleep, so
Is there a reason why?
me if I'm a little like delirious.
No, it's okay. Is there a reason why you haven't been sleeping, man?
Well, I'm trying to catch some rest at the hospital. Trying to sleep in a hospital is like trying to sleep on a plane. It's just there's no use, you know. It's not real sleep. They let my apparently there was a group. I don't know if a group, however many people went up and down our street. But I've been there since Friday night when I'm trying to catch some rest at the hospital. Trying to sleep in a hospital is like trying to sleep on a plane. It's just there's no use, you know. It's not real sleep. But I've been there since Friday night when I had to take my mother in because I got home from work. She's epileptic. She's also has heart disease. She's not doing well, man.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And I found her unconscious next to the bed, which I guess she had a seizure in her sleep. And so they got her in Friday night. They got her stabilized. And while we were there, apparently there was a group. I don't know if a group, however many people went up and down our street and robbed a bunch of houses. Our house got hit. It was like completely turned upside down when I got back there in the morning. They let my dog out, Bandit, and that's why I was actually just getting this stuff. He looks a lot like Bandit, and I thought
I'm so sorry, dude.
my mom, it just would cheer her up a little bit, but excuse me, I got a phone call this morning. Yeah.
Oh no, continue. What were you gonna say?
They found the dog. Animal controls got him, but they had to do some shots on him and give him a microchip before they can release him back to us. I'm trying to just. I was on the phone with my job earlier. I'm like begging for them to just a little more grace. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm really. And then not to mention, I have to try and replace all my mom's medication because that was one of the things that was stolen, and I don't even know where to begin with that. She's unmedicated. It's not like we have a private doctor or somebody, a family member we can just call up and just get prescriptions.
How easy is it to get it?
Your guess is as good as mine. So I mean, if you have any information about that,
And so Brad.
I'm at a loss, man.
No, yeah. And so Brad, I just want to ask you real quick, man. So right now, are you staying at your home right now?
Well, it's tore up.
That I did. So Brad, I just and so Brad, I just want to ask you real quick, man. So right now, are you staying at your home?
Well, it's tore up. It's a bit of a crime scene.
Not really.
See,
No.
this is a problem. Okay, if you try to do something nice, right? Why keep recording, bro? Just give the money so he can be on his day. So he can be on his way. Go about his day. Like, why are you still recording? And I see why people don't like videos. Some people don't like videos like this, and I see why. But it's cool to try to see what the person intentions are and see who you're giving the money to. It's cool, but it's like you're overdoing it. Like, see how long this video is? 6 minutes long.
Security breached, and I don't. Is that something that they'll like, come back and hit again? Do I have to be careful for when we are there? Like I got the system and do that.
Nah, I don't know if this video is real or fake. Because he could be not giving the money away. Like, this could be his co-worker right here. Like, pretending or acting like he's homeless or not homeless, but you know, distressed. Or I don't know if that was a word or not, but you know what I'm trying to get at. But yeah, like I said, like they could be just faking it for views and stuff and likes and stuff. That's weird. I ain't gonna lie, it's kinda weird. But I don't know.
Yeah. So when was the last? I know this is kind of like an off-brand question, total sidebar. When was the last time you and your mother got blessed? We got a blessing. Mm-hmm. Does that even happen anymore? Oh well, it seemed like this world wanting to help, like the society, everything. It's just the state of the. I don't know, man.
Exactly.
The reason for the question.
The reason why I asked Brad is because I wanna give this back to you. $2. I don't have a daughter. Just take it.
Because you don't have a daughter,
Yeah.
so you don't need.
And also this.
I
You have that in your
thank
wallet.
you.
You see, I actually know where your wallet is, and it's right here. I placed a blessing inside of here for you, Brad. I want you to go ahead and open it up and tell me what you see.
How did you end up with the?
Open it up and tell me what you see, man. Inside of there, Brad. That's $6,500. I'm gonna go ahead and bless you with.
Is this some like Chris Angel
No,
kind of
no,
thing?
no, no, no.
I don't understand
No,
how you.
it's all for you. It's a
And
blessing
you
from
want
me.
me to have this money?
Yeah.
If I give you 100 mil right now, what would you do?
I would take the 100 million to my biggest hater, then that would motivate me to make 101 million.
Y'all call me a monkey.
Whoa, no.
What's your body count?
What?
What's your body count?
Body count? 260, I'm not gonna lie.
No, not your.
What do you call a female barber?
Barbarian.
How many genders are there?
I don't know. I just got here.
Read today about a 10-year-old girl with Down syndrome who was taken from her mother and put in a cage. I read about...
All right. I love y'all. I'm gonna go up on the look.
If I give you 100 mil right now, what would you do?
I would take.
All right, what's going on, TikTok? I just got back home. I'm about to open up this dinner tray and see what they served us. What it is, what it is, what? Okay. This shit ain't too bad. What the fuck? All right. Let's smell it. Oh, it smells kind of sweet. Some type of sweet bread. Nice. All right, potatoes. Some type of meat. I don't know. Shit, look at the cookie, boy. The cookie got some frosting on this bitch. Let me see. Let me try it. A little dry, but it's all good though. But yeah, that's what today's dinner is. That's what I came home to.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play
The reason why I asked Brad is because I want to give this back to you. $2. I don't got it, just a daughter. So and also the
He said, he know the man. Oh, yeah, he know the man. The wind was coming like a... Oh, my God.
Do you know what time it is? Guess. I'm cheating. About 6:30? Okay, it's over 6, right? It's 7:15. Yeah. What time do you think you left his house? 5:30. 5:30? Yes. Okay, and then what did you do when you left his house? I came here. Okay. But it's 7:15. How long were you inside the store for? A while. Give me an approximate. 45 minutes. You were in the store for 30, 45 minutes. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything that you did today that in terms of medications, alcohol, prescribed, not prescribed drugs, weed, anything like that you took today that you think would impair your driving? No. Okay. Have you had any alcoholic beverage today? No. 0%? Zero. I have been sober for 7 months. Okay. What about
Burn my house to the ground! My family's dead! What do?
It really smells like public restroom. It smells like a public restroom. You know what?
What the heck? Very creative.
What's the meaning of that? Why would you attack a pregnant woman like that?
Your wife is not pregnant. She's faking it.
Can you listen to yourself? My wife is pregnant and you just attacked a pregnant woman and you're telling me she's faking it. Are you mad? Hey, listen. Don't repeat that nonsense again. Do you understand me? Don't repeat that nonsense again. Get out! I'm so sorry about that, okay? I'm so sorry. I hope the baby is fine.
Yes.
It's okay. Let's go, okay? Sorry. We're almost there, okay? Alright? Sorry. Sorry about that, okay? Okay? Sorry, we're almost there, okay?
Sorry, sir. Good evening, sir.
Babe, let's go.
Sir, please. What is it? What is it? Sir, please. I want to tell you something. Babe, let's go. What do you want to say? Please, now I said I want to talk to you.
Go ahead and say what you want to say.
Sir, your wife is not. Shut up. Your wife is not pregnant. Shut up. Babe, let's go. Let's leave this place. Now, I know what I'm saying.
Sorry, baby.
Let's go. Okay, sir, if you don't
Are you mad? Are you stupid? What is your problem?
She's not pregnant.
What is wrong with all of you today? My wife is not pregnant. My wife is heavily pregnant. What is wrong with all of you?
She's faking it. Okay, if you don't believe me, let me show you. Babe, let's go. I have evidence. Just take a look at Babe, let's go. Let's go now. She's not pregnant. It's just ordinary balloon. You can even bust it or
Babe,
even bring it out.
What's the meaning of this?
Peach.
Middle finger to my haters, are you bitch jealous? Fuck yeah. Been knew I was that bitch, I didn't need a man to tell me. The fuck? Crop top. Middle finger to my haters, are you bitch jealous? Fuck yeah. Been knew I was that bitch, I didn't need a man to tell me. The fuck? Crop top. Middle finger.
Nobody can draw that.
Hang up. Just say the words. I really don't give a fuck. Thank you. Shoot. Trying people's souls and shit. Oh my god, she wasted my time.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Who am I? Why, something wrong? I don't look good this morning. I said, how are you? I know. Why are you asking that question? Usually you ask people how are you because they don't look good. I'm sorry. How are you? I'm good. Oh, great. You're great. For my age. You have a speeding ticket. Speeding ticket? No. That wasn't speeding. 32 miles an hour. In a 20-mile-an-hour zone. You don't think that's speeding? Not if you're right behind the bus and I just left the VA. It was 5:30 at night. You were at the VA hospital? Yeah. Did you serve in the military? Yes, I did. When? 1954 and 7. That was Korea, wasn't it? Yes, it was. Did you go to Korea? Yes, I did. I think the least I can do for a veteran who served in Korea and was coming back from the vets hospital is give him a break on this ticket. And I'm going to do it. Thank you for your service. The case is dismissed. Was this judge fair? We're going to take a look at it. Good morning. How are you? Who am I? What?
Oh my god. Imagine that. Woo.
I don't like your t-shirt. I'm an immigrant. I don't understand why you would want to deport some of my friends and family who have been working hard in this country.
What's your name, sir?
I'm Claudio, sir.
Yeah, Claudio. And this is just a thought exercise, but it's very revealing. You are king, and you find out that there are 30 million uninvited people in your country. What do you do with them?
I try to find the most humane way of sending them back to our country. But first of all, I want to say
that's what we're doing.
Wait,
That's what we're doing. So what country are you from?
You're gonna like this.
Like what? First off, why are you even speaking from the beginning? Second, is they are set up to even ask these questions for videos like this? Because I feel like they are acting. Like, they literally planned this whole thing out in front of people, random people, to ask dumb questions. And y'all might not think it's dumb questions. I feel like the situation or the subject is not dumb, of course. But for this person to bring up a situation like this and then ask a dumb question like, hey, why are you doing this and I'm an immigrant and why would you do this and that and send our people back after we just like worked like for your country. And then he give you a scenario like if I was king or if you was king and this and that and you answered his question with the answer that he is looking for, you're literally like you was planned to prove a point to all the Americans or all the immigrants that is watching this video. Like, no. Like, what? You know, the real immigrants will like not, they will literally be like fighting for their rights, you know? I'm just saying, like, this video is like right here.
No, I'm actually the opposite.
I'm Mexican.
But you came here legally, correct?
I did.
You followed the rules. The people that you know didn't follow the rules.
True.
So I divide our not into Hispanic and white into...
Like, let's say I am an immigrant, right? And I came to America illegally. Like, just went to America without being illegal. But people that put immigrants under the table to work for them is okay, but being in a country is wrong. And now that they, I don't know, probably they not working as much now, you want to send them back? Or some of these American people literally taking immigrants in to work for them for the cheapest of the cheap. Think about that. I'm just saying, like, that's kind of weird.
Rule follower and rule breaker.
Yeah.
And so when someone breaks our rules, there must be justice done. And the main way is you go back to your country of origin.
Some of my boys, like, they're being persecuted, like, back home, them and their families, like, they're, like, in, like, drug-related, like, wars and violence, and the only way out is if they escape and they break the American law, but that's the only way they're gonna survive.
If that is correct, we have a special asylum status that they could seek legally at a port of entry, that they could go through a whole process.
But if they're being persecuted, wouldn't it be just to cut the line?
No. If we all of a sudden say that if you have a lot of gang violence and issues, I mean, like, we have a lot of gang violence and issues. Like, what are we talking about here?
True.
You have to draw the line. If you're going down, what do they tell you to do first? You put your mask on first. It's the same way as a country. We need to put our own oxygen mask on first, and then we can worry about helping other people.
I don't like your shirt.
Yeah, the plain thing is correct, and I go with that plain thing. But it's just like when you're literally, let's say, let's use the plain thing. How can I use it though? Okay, so you put on your own to either help others. But we're allowing the other people that doesn't supposed to be using that mask to use the mask. It's like kind of a hypocrite, I ain't gonna lie. It's like you're contradicting yourself in a way. Like, America never take accountability for their own actions. They don't. They just try to right their wrongs. Which is cool, but it's just like, why you not admitting to what you did? Like, to have the American, to have America to be like this in the first place. Like, right your wrongs, bro. Like, no, admit your wrongs, so we can know, like, you screwed up. That's it. Now my battery is out. Shit. I don't know, the PlayStation still.
Jumping is slow-mo. Challenge part 2.
The type of girl you wanna chew all of my bubble gum. The type of girl you wanna chew all of my bubble gum. I'm the type of girl you wanna take in my house. Take to your mama house. The type of girl you wanna bubble gum.
Excuse me, do you think...
Someone should help her.
Oh, please, I'm just having some car problems.
I'm sure someone will, just... No. Okay, the only thing I know about her...
Hands up.
Is that a gun?
Don't move.
I don't believe you.
Shut up. I'll pull the trigger. Move. Lie face down.
What are you doing?
Turn around. Hello. I heard a burglar in my house. Yes. Send someone, please.
Hey, I'm your neighbor from downstairs. You're flooding.
What?
Yeah, really badly. You have to shut off the water.
Oh my god. The burglar must have broken it. I need to call a plumber.
No. As a neighbor, I can fix it for free.
Really?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Never trust it.
Okay. Can you please hold this part. Please, please. Yes, just like this. Don't move. So I have a spare part at home. I can fetch it, but you don't move and hold it. Okay. Okay. Good.
Okay.
Okay, let's get out of here. Come on. Hey, stop. What? That's what we came for. Come on. How can I crack it if I have no idea what the code means?
She's stupid.
Damn it. This is a girl. It must be something very simple. Cubs, we gotta get out of here. Come on. Yes, but with this thing. Okay, Brad.
Hands up!
Oh.
Got a gun.
I never had a gun. The code is 1, 2, 3, 4. Came for what's inside, right? Open it.
Come on, she's lying.
Take it back and it's round.
And how you're doing?
Taking pictures of burgers rummaging through my safe. And before this, I was just telling.
Freeze! What? You're under arrest.
You messed up, didn't you? Hands up.
Is that a gun?
Don't move.
Go for a Molly. Match it. That's correct. You get $20.
I am going right here. Right there?
That's incorrect. Sorry, that's incorrect.
My turn, Red Bull. And I'm gonna put it right here.
Right there? That's correct.
What?
You get $5.
$5.
Here you go. All right, it's your turn. And one of these prizes is better than all the rest of them, okay? One of them is better than all the rest of them.
Here.
That's correct. You got it. $1. That's not the really good prize.
I'm gonna go with Gatorade.
Go Gatorade, okay.
I'll go.
Get the really special one.
Right there?
No, that's incorrect. Sorry, that's not right. Fanta.
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 Okay, where are you gonna put it?
In the middle. Right there?
Right there? No, that's not the blue Fanta. Sorry. It was a good guess. Take it off.
I'll go Prime.
Red Prime.
Okay, and then
Where are you putting it?
I'll put it over here.
Right there? That's correct. You got it. Which means you get $10. $10. Wow. Guys, there's only 5 left. There's only 5 spots left to go.
I'm hoping for more than $1.
Yeah, try to get more than $1.
I'm gonna go Powerade, and I'm gonna go Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo.
Where do you think?
There's a big prize that's better than all the
There's a
rest.
super good prize that's better than all the rest of them down here.
Right here.
That is correct. Yes, that's correct. And that's a pretty good prize. $100. There you go.
Is this a big prize?
There is still a prize that's even better than that.
What?
Even better than that. Yep.
Okay. All right.
I'm going with Red Bull.
Red Bull. Okay.
And I am gonna go
Where are you gonna go?
right. Where should I go? Right by the other Red
Right
Bull.
there. You think that's it?
Yeah.
Do you think that's the really special prize?
I think it might be.
Two Red Bulls.
That's incorrect. Sorry, that's wrong. Good guess. Good guess. It's your turn, Dad.
Redoing the Fanta.
You going Fanta again?
Okay.
Where did I go last time? I think I went here.
I'm not sure.
So I either go here or an end.
Or you could try that same spot again.
I'm not an idiot. I'm gonna go.
Where do you think, Dad?
I haven't won yet, so this is it.
Right there? Right
Two
there?
blues.
That is incorrect. Sorry, that's wrong. Take it off. Take it off, Dad. Have you gotten one yet?
No.
I'll go Gatorade.
Gatorade, okay.
And I'm gonna put it
Where are we going?
Where do you think?
right here.
Right there?
Right there?
Is that it? Is that?
That is correct. You got it.
Let's go.
You got it right.
How do you do that?
Which means you get $2. So $2 back.
That's awesome.
Dad, you need to take lessons from Kezzy.
I'm gonna take the red Fanta.
Okay.
Eeny, meeny, miny.
There's 3 spots. Guys, one of these 3 that's left, one of the 3 spots that's open, has the really special prize that's better than all the rest of them.
Oh, okay. First, I just need to take a sip quick.
Take a sip. Okay, no drinking, Pops. No drinking.
That's gonna help me. I think it's gonna be here.
It's gonna draw your taste buds. That's incorrect. No, that's wrong. No, take it off. Well, the drinking did not work.
I'm gonna go Blue Fanta.
You're going blue Fanta.
Blue Fanta.
Well, there's only 1 spot yet. No, there's 2 spots. There's 2 spots he hasn't put it.
Where are you going?
I know Dad put it here.
Right
So
there?
it's not here.
I did?
You did? You don't even know where you put it, Dad?
I have
It's one
no
of
idea.
these. Oh, I don't know.
What do you think?
I put it there.
So if he already put it there, it must not be there, because he got it
Yeah,
wrong.
one of these. This
One of the other spots.
or this.
What do you think? What do you think?
I'm gonna put it by the blues.
Right there? 3
Yeah.
blues together? No, that's incorrect. They did not put 3 blues together.
What do you think? All right, I'm doing this again.
You're
So
going,
Okay.
well, you're going blue Fanta again.
Yeah, you just put it here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. You said I put it here.
Yeah.
Did I?
Dad, you just put it one of the 3 spots.
I never put it here.
You think it's right there?
Really?
This is it. Boom! That's where you just put it. No.
What is the #1 cause of Black Death?
you're out. Only 1% survive. Let's go.
I'm eating
Number
on
1,
stream.
Shad. Number 2, Brenda. Number 3, Todd. Number 4, Jessica. Double tap that screen if you're still in. Number 5, Mike. Number
You gonna
6,
say my name?
Becky. Number 7, Steve. Bonus round. Press and hold the comment button and select an emoji. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you selected the cheers emoji, you're out too. Number 8, Aaron. Number 9, Bobby. Number 10, Rachel. Number 11, Ray. Number 12, Linda. Number 13, Evan.
No.
Number 14, Cindy. Another bonus round.
They pop in and out.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you said your mom, you're out. Number 15, Tony, you're out. Number 16, nope. Number 17, Danny, out. Save this video if you're still here. Number 18, Jennifer, bye-bye, Jenny. Number 19, Ricky, you're done. And before I say number 20, make sure to hit that red plus by my name. Number 20, Heather, you're out.
None of my names.
You're out. Only 1% survive. Let's go. Number 1.
Alright, look, all you gotta do is get this key off of the rubber bands without lifting up the nails, breaking the board, unlocking the lock, or taking the rubber band off, right? You gotta get it out of here, alright? And it can't lock. Alright, go ahead. Go ahead. Do not lift up the nails or break the rubber band.
How am I supposed to stop breaking the rubber band?
Seriously, you gotta figure it out the puzzle. And you cannot use nothing to like unlock the lock. Like, I don't even know you're gonna try to get like a Q-tip or something like to open it. Like, no. You're trying to make a rubber band Batmobile? Try to do that in elementary school. It's not gonna work. What was that supposed to do?
Huh?
What?
What the fuck?
Alright, look, all you gotta do is get this key off of these rubber bands without lifting up the nails, breaking the board, unlocking the lock, or taking the rubber band off, right? You gotta get it out of here, alright?
Really?
And it can't lock.
Oh, I can't even leave the light.
Who's that?
Why is you?
What do you mean? Don't be distracted.
No.
What you have to do?
No.
They know
No. No, I do though. I do. And that's a problem. I'm eating and you doing that.
What do you mean?
Why?
I'm taking off my clothes to change.
Can you hurry up and put it back on?
Why can't you eat your ice cream?
Why can't you put it back on your clothes? Why you couldn't you wait?
Why can't you just eat? Why can't you just fucking eat?
Why couldn't you just wait?
Just eat. Just go ahead and eat. Damn, you gotta really pay attention. Like, you're so fucking rude.
Okay.
What was the
Okay.
best day of your life? My son was born. Okay, what made it so special? What was the best day of your life?
Turn to who?
My first child was born. And what made that day so special?
CJ.
That's the day I became my father. What the hell? Okay, and what we had to get well gift.
Why you teach so fucking young?
It's just the right size.
Why you don't brush your teeth?
I'll catch up with you later. What's your name? Seth.
You see, they came back and clapped back and said,
Probably just started talking. Then I don't. I say we go for a walk, huh?
and you're like, what? What do you mean? You don't he bucked that bitch.
Wow. On live?
Yep.
Mm-mm.
Yep.
My 9-year-old little sister,
the brothers noticed red stains on her pants, like blood. They were worried and asked her what happened. Through her tears, she told them that their stepfather, Tanya, had put something inside her and that she was in a lot of pain, overcome with uncontrollable.
But why he doing that to only him though? Why he doing that only to him?
Maybe because if he told me his mom probably just really be on business. You know, to change her life, start her own life. Maybe he understand it. You know, she probably talk to him all the time. Like, you gotta understand that me and your father, we love each other, but at the same time, we're just not with each other. But that doesn't mean we bashing one another. You see Queen bashing Chris. Shit. Maybe back then, but she stopped. You can see that. Chris keep going, because he mad as hell because he ain't made
Number 2.
Like, time not to cut shit go. Like, let the go. It's done. It's done. Hey. You get Queen back. Maybe it's like the lady with the beard. Like clear. So that's it. Alright. What's your goal? You gotta understand that CJ is going to fuck up and he ain't gonna see things right. We can talk now. You know, I talk to him. So. anything, his mom going over here taking away his kid.
That's what I'm saying. Because she got mostly the custody of the child. The child, yeah.
Yeah, he can really say it's Christmas.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they both cheated.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll say it's clean fault. Yeah. When you think about it, it was clean fault.
But I just feel like when every time they come around, Chris, he needed to be more of a father than a friend. I understand he want his son to be cool with him because he hasn't seen him for a long time.
Yeah.
But you still gotta remain that father.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yo, stop doing all that. And then you gotta keep in mind, I'm your father. At the end of the day, I'm your father.
Exactly.
Like, I'm your father. You know, it's respect regardless of where you get it. You know what I'm talking about? Man, you don't lay no law all the time. And then to leave you. You know, already, I think they said something about her lie. He said, see, they said something and he pushed CJ out the way and some shit.
Mm-hmm.
He took CJ out the camera and some shit. I ain't see it. That's what they said.
What, Chris?
Chris, yeah. CJ said something and they said that Chris pushed him out the camera and some shit.
Oh.
Not you getting beef with your brother.
Right there, you should be like, hold on, wait. Let me turn off the cameras real quick. Turn off the cameras, have a little talk. La la da 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 da. And then turn back on the cameras. Like what? You ain't gonna disrespect me. You know I'm the father. Period. You don't have to push him out the camera. Just chop it up. You want that? You gonna respect me because I'm your father. Conversation. Yeah, but you choosing the wrong person to get mad at though.
No, you ain't mad at both of them. They both been using the fuck out of that kid. And still using to this day. Going to the camera live and shit. Like, what the fuck? Shit. Using the fuck out of that kid.
Yeah, but I feel like he's participating in it.
I mean, they done transfer that kid to many people and to many people. And now I want to be a family. Shit. And then when you be a family, it's not with the dad. It's with another dad. So you had to make it so embarrassing fuck out of him. And all his friends and everybody else gonna see it. They probably won't call him baby toss. Shit. You know, they gonna get talked about for. They don't know whether to get this or get that. Shit.
Hey, listen, if I wanted her, I would have her right now. That's you know what I'm saying?
You wanted a hair on your foot. Because you don't.
That used to be my little sugar. That used to be my little crush back in the day. You know what I'm saying? That your mama used to be my little crush back in the day, boy. That's it and that's all. Man,
Didn't know it in show.
And then when you see that shit, you know, see Chris was saying,
bro,
what?
Where you gonna brush your teeth?
What? Who you gonna stop talking about my mom on YouTube?
That's how you speak to your son?
You know what people?
That's the problem.
Shit.
Look. Look, stop lying. Look. Oh my fucking god. Look, stop.
Well, we gotta keep going.
talking about?
Oh, you outside. You talking about it. Okay? Take this shit. You try some hats. How did it fall? Your big ass in it. How did it fall? Don't be shy. Cat! Oh, I'm serious. Can you spray this? Please. Bro, please! God damn! You know, I ain't looking at the niggas. Your nigga lying. Bro, just do it. You're lying. Just do it. What else am I like? And then I swear. No, I can't tell you in detail. What do you mean?